Who exactly, where exactly did our politicians come from? Because in all this, Father James, in all this, the elephant in the room is the politician. We had them, unfortunately I didn't have time to address them. I hope I get an opportunity to address them. But I hope I come out not with a punched nose. Because we cannot do without that MCA in the Tana River Basin, that MCA in Nyeri, that MCA in Murang'a. So ladies and gentlemen, you must find out what drives the MCA. What drives that MCA? Ni kitu gani ambacho ile MCA atasikia na aseme basi utakuunga mkono? What drives your MCA? Maybe at the plenary, you'll answer. Because until you know what drives that MCA, this policy will not work. They'll actually fight it. So first of all, get to understand what drives your MCA. I have a feeling that sometimes even the good Lord does not understand what drives the politicians. But pray that you understand, because you must have a trade-off. Whatever it is that they understand and support you, you must have it first. Don't waste your time trying to lobby them until you know what drives them. The day we know what drives our politicians in this country, we'll have our final saving grace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salala. We've been able to see the policies we have in hand. And we've also been empowered to know that the Constitution gives us the rights, okay? And now it's up to us to take the mantle and be the driving force to make sure that we take care of our environment. So now I would like to ask again Father James Kayanda. Okay, sorry about that. So maybe we could have a bit of discussion of the two presentations we've had so far. What is your take? Yes, please. Kindly tell us your name.
My name is Patrick Kamono, I represent East Africa Climate Network. My observation goes towards Tana River presentation by the Senator. Is there a connection 5 years ago where people were being uprooted from Tana River around that route, they wait for this multinational planting some hydro, something to do with some Qatar government trying to implement some agricultural productivity around. And also, is there also a research in regards to Tana River where there is a possibility they have a lot of minerals within that Tana River area? Is there a research which can quantify an amount of minerals that is along that route? Thank you.
Yeah, I take this question. I just want to tell the team here. Please, all of us can answer. The experts here, I know. So if you know you are an expert in a certain area and you see there's a question that you can contribute the answer to, please feel most welcome, because it's a conversation.
Okay, we can have another question. Yes.
My name is Michael Muni, CNJDC. My question would go to Thank you for your discussion. But I wonder, because you have been busy, you have discussed with the Constitution, and now we are talking about the policy. And the policy is being guided by the Constitution. Is this policy going to take other areas apart from Tana and Athi River? For example, there are those districts that are mentioned where the Tana River passes through. The other rivers which they suffer the same problem, even in the other areas like in the western through the river which is coming from up going to Kisumu. Nzoia and the other one I don't remember, which is passes near Kisumu.
Okay, another question?
Yeah, me, I'm interested in knowing whether during your research, you took concern, you had concern with, like, where these rivers are coming from, the source, whether you saw whatever is giving the cover for these rivers not to be dry, whether it is being depleted and something should be done, because that can be very serious. And again, my brother there has
policies. We have very good policies. We have very good laws.
nothing is done, no solution, nothing. What can be done, or what initiative can be taken to make something beautiful, to bring back the things? Everybody can see the Kenya has changed. It's not as it used to be in my young days. Everything has changed. What can be done to bring back the nature that was there? Green, good rain, good harvests, and avoid the overflowing and drought. Also, what can we tell these people who are using the water catchment to understand that they are destroying the country? That what can come out from all that?
Up to the end, whereby the others were
right, we'll take all the police quotations. That is your life. Lawyers, law, and politics are very close. Just think a bit about the policy. The policy has a number of very good suggestions. Because actually we don't come from money. We work with our stakeholders, with the community in Garissa, with the community in Kilifi, with the community in Embu, in Nyaga, in Muranga, in Makueni, Kajiado. Actually, there's a member of Kajiado here. Please, can you just she works in the county government. So we also invite her. This is part and parcel of the community. It's like a public participation scheme. What we are suggesting in our policy is basically we want to build resilience in our communities because of the effect of climate change. How are we going to do that? First of all, we decided we better think about the river and the river. But some would say, yeah, can we scale it up all over the country? And this was an opportunity to have a national discussion on Ziba River, on Trans-Nzoia River, the Wasongiro, the problem between Mau and Narok. But you know, you get limited with your project scope and want to use it maybe as a test case so that we can have a national conversation. So we want to achieve only, basically actually one thing. Because of climate change, we want our people, our communities, to be climate resilient. Now, what does that mean? It means a number of things. It means we must build up adaptation mechanisms. There is a section now talking about adaptation. That means, one example of adaptation is community behavior change. How the community, let's say, as Sister said, Reverend Sister, people who they cut trees or they plant right to the river banks. So that behavior must change then. So adaptation means, for us, there are a number of the issues, but we have just picked on community behavior change, and it has a lot of things. Another one is natural resource management. That's what we are talking here. Now, that requires political goodwill, as Brother will talk here, and climate financing, so that we protect, as Kenyans, the upper Tana catchment areas along the highlands of Kenya, central highlands of Kenya, and the river basins in Lamu and Kilifi and Tana River and all those places. That means that place must be sacred. We plant more trees. We make sure that how we share the water. We make sure that how the catchment areas have been protected, such that even if it's lower basin counties to pay them to protect the trees so that we get water, it will be very good. And it's very easy if we put mechanism, and we already have the law, good lawyer will tell us, the laws are there, that's not a problem, on natural management of, the management of natural resources. So that's the second one, in order to build resilience. A third one is to, what do you do to have this conflict transformation approaches, because we are already conflicted. There is inter-county conflict, and there is inter-community conflict. The Somali, when it is dry, they are fighting the Kamba. The Kamba, they are fighting back the Somali. The Griama, I'm sorry to use this Kenyan way of talking, but maybe the best I should say, the Kenyans are fighting. So, but why would a Somali push out somebody from Kambani? Maybe he does not see the other one as a Kenyan. He's thinking about his lifestyle. Why should maybe a Griama cut, or what we had recently in Taita Taveta, somebody cut the camels off? Yes. So you see, so if we can, because this policy is recommending that we can have conflict transformation mechanism, whereby we can solve our conflicts in a non-violent way. And then we can manage our resources in a very clear way. And then we can build adaptation mechanism. I tell you, we will become resilient. So I think that's what I will answer. I think now some of the questions I'll come later. Give him.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, when you see me on the phone, excuse my manners, you might think I'm not following. That has now become the document, isn't it?
Yes.
Rather than write. So I beg your forgiveness if you thought I was engaging in Facebook. I wasn't. Now, there are a number of questions that have come forward. My young brother there asked whether there are any minerals that have been discovered along Tana River. I'm not sure about specifically along Tana River, but I think we all know that there has been titanium mining at the coast, isn't it? And that in itself has an environmental impact to the extent that there have been fights between the original owners of the land and the government. But again, we know that the government has always had its way. There was a question from my elder here on whether we intend this draft policy to be expanded to other regions of the country. The answer is yes, and I think that's what Father James have said, that eventually this draft policy has to become the working document for the nation. Because whereas the epicenter of the conflict is along the Tana River and Athi, we also know that the sources of River Nzoia is in Cherangani Hills. And our brothers in Cherangani Hills are not respecting the fact that my Luyas downstream require this water all the way to Ugenya, all the way into Lake Victoria. So yes, ultimately, the proper way is to have this expand to the whole country. But of course, you must start with a seedling that grows into a big tree and then a forest. There's a question, I think, from some of you are not saying your names, but excuse me. Yeah, Benedict. Whether we thought about the source of the rivers. Of course, of course. This program, this that you have, take your time. Everything is here. When you're at home, take your time. We have looked at the sources of these rivers, the Aberdare, the Mount Kenya, the water towers. And I think my kid sister Nelly talked about the 6 water basins when she was talking. So take your time. In this session, we may not go into the details because of the time constraint. But take your time and you'll find you have looked at the Aberdares, the Mount Kenya, and all that. What drives our MCAs, my brother Wangalo there says, my brother Kizito, says, I should have reframed the question and said, what drives our voters? Why do you elect these fellows? Then we start complaining. But perhaps I'll throw it back to you. Do we really elect them? Thank you. When Akizito, when you hear the mamas, you have the answer. It's really a question of the cat chasing on its own tail, going round and round and round. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem we have in this country is a political problem. If you don't fix the political problem, everything else will not be fixed. Because we do the voting, we vote, but we don't count, do we? And we don't announce. So as long as politicians will take charge of the counting and take charge of what to announce, we'll still have the end result being what we have. But I agree with you that the way we are talking here, we need to have more fire under our bellies and move to the counties. It is amazing how we all have concentrated in Nairobi and left the county government. We have not fully understood the impact of devolution. Ladies and gentlemen, there are billions upon billions that are down there in your account. Unfortunately, this constitution did not find willing Democrats to embrace it. So we have the sons and daughters of the centralists, those who believe that the power still have to be up there. So we don't seem to realize that there are two governments. There is a federal government, and there are 47 mini governments. This is what you have to understand. And therefore, what is happening in Kajiado must interest you as a person and a native of Kajiado, because they have billions. Now, unfortunately, it is our mothers and shoshos and our danas who are down there. And the governors have perfected it. You're right, brother. They have bought everybody. It is your illiterate sister, illiterate cousin who didn't go to school, who is back home there. So what public participation do you expect out there? By the time we realize, you go down there, wenyewe wanasema kwamba utakuta umepangwa, sivyo? So I agree with you that much as we talk here, we need to devolve these actions down there so that we have effect. Civil society is dead. I agree that civil society has been managed. And on a number of occasions when I have an opportunity on national state media to talk about this, I ask the question. Article 1 of the Constitution says, sovereignty belongs to the people. we still don't understand what sovereignty means. And the Katiba says that this sovereignty can be exercised either directly or indirectly. We have chosen that it should be exercised indirectly. So we have given the members of parliament, we have given the MCAs, the president and the deputy president. But because the Katiba wants to make sure that you are still in charge, it says in Article 37, I'm not mistaken, that there shall be public participation and in each and every policy decision that the government takes. So then, we have given the members of parliament the right to decide for us and do it for us because we have delegated the sovereignty to them. But they are obligated to come back to us through public participation. Ladies and gentlemen, this draft policy will not make sense if we don't insist that we must be consulted. Public participation. Before they came up with this draft policy, they were in Kilifi, they were in Mwingi, they were everywhere. That is public participation. Let me give you one tragic example of why we are a hopeless people. The Constitution says that money to be borrowed on your behalf, you must approve.
Yes.
And you must approve it through Parliament. That parliamentarians must approve before the President and his deputy go to borrow money, aka Eurobond. But Eurobond never got approval from parliamentarians. So you did not participate. You did not approve. But each one of you, plus your children and grandchildren, has a tag of about 1,500 on your head. And you have to pay whether you work or you don't work. Whether you're employed or you're not employed. If you're not employed, you'll go to the shop and buy bread. There is VAT. You'll buy Safaricom. There is a levy. You'll use a matatu. There is fuel levy. Now they're bringing a private road, Mombasa to Nairobi, where ukiingia huko hivi you have to pay before you use that road. So the problem is you. Don't blame anybody else. The Katiba is there, but you don't want your rights. Why should you be forced? So even this draft policy, we are here, it sounds nice. I keep telling my brother here, we keep talking about it, but it will end there. Yeah. Why? Because you will not run with it. And when you're in Lukenya, when I was facilitating, we said, when we live here, can we agree that each one of us becomes a warrior for climate smart water governance? Yeah. Can we all agree? But you are not going to do, yes, my father is already wondering. Yeah. It is not for the faint-hearted. And look, let me ask you, what have you ever fought for in life? My brother, what have you fought for anything in life at first? Have you fought for anything in life? Tangu uzaliwa, have you ever fought for anything?
Yes.
Please.
Not physical.
I fought for closer for a grab on university.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
You. My kid brother doesn't seem to want to speak.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought for you. Leave him. My sister. Speak up. Have you fought for anything in life? Yes or no?
No.
Thanks to the extreme. One last one, because I don't have time. One
Yeah.
last one. My sister, what have you? In less than 5 words.
I lost a job and I'm a single mother. Then my kids was in I took them
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. The reason why I'm asking if you have ever fought for anything, it's because if you are sitting here, tushakunywa chai pamoja, na tunangoja lunch, and you've never fought for anything in life, kindly excuse yourself and go. Because you are not useful to yourself, and therefore cannot be useful to anybody else.
Yeah.
If you are not going to say from here with this kind of knowledge, you will go back to where you've come from and become the climate smart water governance warrior, then this session is useful. And I've said we are not going to hack it until we are passionately obstinate. Kwamba ni haki yetu, tuue ukitaka, but we must have it. The Sudanese have made it. Yes, they are dying, I know. Of course you have to die. You have to be ready to die. The Sudanese have evicted Bashir. The Algerians have evicted Bouteflika, where it was not expected. I do not know why you guys fear, yet in the 90s, against Baba Moi, there are only 4 or 5 guys who fought for what we have today. It was Raila Odinga, James Orengo, Martin Shikuku, George Ntenke. We can count them. They say, kill us, maim us, but you must introduce multi-party.
And it worked.
And Moi gave in.
Yeah.
I see nobody here who is worse than Moi. So we must have this draft policy our way. And you're not going to have it if you fear. You know, President Museveni, when people were fighting that he should open the door of democracy in Uganda, and they were saying we must have democracy, President Museveni said that some of you who are asking me now to leave the presidency, when you were in the bush fighting Obote and Amin, some of you said, I have a young wife, I cannot go to the bush. I have a new baby, I cannot go to the bush. So now I've cleared the way you want. You can go to hell. That is why Museveni has refused to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Until
he fought for it.
So if you look at it without moralizing it, he has a point. That you cannot wait others to be killed, others to be maimed, then you come and take it. So you must be part of the struggle. Sister, you talked about an attitude shift. Precisely. That's all I'm spending my little energy on this earth saying. That we must have an attitude change. There is public participation. Why are we letting Eurobond, now we are in the 3rd, and we are quiet. And you say you can do nothing? You are waiting for Raila Odinga? He's no more.
He's gone.
Yes.
He's preparing for retirement.
Yes, and his people have told him, Baba Lingthi. In the law, Lingthi means Nyamaza Kabisa. Yes, Baba Lingthi. You are not ordained to be the opposition chief. Let others now be. So if you are waiting for Raila, he will not come. But life does not have room for a vacuum. Before Raila, there was another. And that other will come from the midst of you, because you represent the nation. Yeah. So we must change the mind. Village chiefs. Before, if you cut a tree, the village chiefs will be all over, isn't it? So you're asking what has happened. The shepherd has turned on his own flock and is devouring his own flock. When you're put in charge and you squander what you have been put in charge, how do you expect others not to? Have you not seen police lorries carrying sandalwood and court? Haven't you seen that?
Yes.
So if the police were in charge, and haven't you seen Eurobond coming? The first Eurobond, part of it did not even arrive here, and you know it, but you do nothing. It didn't arrive here. So we have a societal cancer that was planted in 1963. It has been propagated to today. All these prescriptions are Panadol prescriptions. They will never heal the cancer. And we must be bold enough to say so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I was able to capture. If I've left others, you may remind me, but I thank you for listening to me.
Yeah.
Just for a moment, please. We still have another
Contribution
that we want to listen to, and then now we can take all the general questions. Is that okay? And it's on social inclusion and participation.
Sorry for taking a lot of your time, but there was an aspect of water management and climate governance we have not talked, and it is part of the challenges upstream and downstream. And they call that social inclusion and participation. Let's start with social inclusion. What is lacking, according to our research, downstream and upstream, is the voice of women and youth. The voice of women and youth. We have it here, and we are suggesting. We have gone to the villages. You find out women are the ones who are suffering when there is no water. Women are the ones, and when I say our sisters back in the village, you know, Kenyans who live in Nairobi sometimes may be mistaken for thinking that Kenya is Nairobi. Nairobi is a very small part. Very small part. Just because we have the money and the technology to build nice houses, then we may confuse ourselves. Go out to the villages. Go to Embu, right in the villages, you see, we have it there. Go to even Nyeri, right in the villages, you will see. Go to Kilifi, I go to Garissa. I've gone to a place called Fafi, Balambala, Nanidi, Isa, and Kenya. And every time you meet, the women will tell you, we are suffering. We are not included in the management of water. The youth will tell you, we are not included in the management of water. Participation. According to the 4 principles of water by the Global Water Partnership, which Kenya has signed into, 4 of them, one is the issue that water is finite resource, so we must handle it well. The second one, participation. It's participatory process. You cannot say water is something that you can talk why it's important here. And that one, the role of women. And the fourth one, of course, the financing and management of water. So I'm going to pick 2, participation and the role of women. The third principle, in the whole world, in the Global Water Partnership, the third principle on water is on the role of women. And Kenya has signed, and we actually receive money from the Global Partnership. But as Mheshimiwa said there, and as our good lawyer said, hiyo pesa inapotea. Women must be given space, and this is what we are saying, in the management of water, because they have a special role. And my sisters are here. Isn't that true? When there's no water in the house, what happens to your family? She's in trouble. We have had cases in Garissa where some women have been divorced. You know, Islam sometimes you can be because there was no water. We have had cases in Garissa again, with girls eaten by crocodiles in a place called near Namibia, because the pump that was pumping water collapsed and it was not working. And then the man said, so when they go to the river, and sometimes if you send your 8-year-old, 10, 15-year-olds does not know which side, and you know kids, they begin to play, and the crocodile is waiting there, and they're gone. Because the media, our media place is very far, you know, the story does not reach us. So they suffer. And then the man comes to beat up the wife, and also, the role of women has been relegated, even at the county level. If you look at the companies of water, they say we have Nairobi Water Company, we have Nyawasco in Nyeri, we have Kimawasco, we have Mawasco. You know all those Mawascos we have. It is a parastatal of a government that is supposed in the county to run water services as a company. And we have very brilliant people in this country. Yeah. And I think doctors, experts, engineers, really good technical experts. And I think the first government, second government, they have invested in education. But unfortunately, they did not invest in politics. So we have very brilliant Kenyans. Yeah. If you go to those offices we have gone, the guy is telling you, myself, with my little church theology and a little bit of social sciences I did, I'm afraid. The guy is a doctor, he's a water engineer. What are you going to tell him? But when he listens to you and you bring about rights and the Constitution, they tell you what the problem is. They say the problem is not ourselves. We have very good laws, but we have also noticed women are not there. Go to the Wasco. How many women are there? Kenya is global water partnership. And sometimes we receive money or some support from them. So the role of women is very important. Final one is participation. Anything to do with water management, like what we are talking here, we are talking about upstream and downstream counties. There must be a participatory approach. It has been done, the research has been done, scientists have come and they have shown us that you cannot manage water alone. You cannot. But what happens when we speak a bit about politics, when I sit down, I also know a bit about politics, even the church is politics. What has happened now, my own view of this country, there is something they call state capture. And that's our biggest problem. And I think the politician there, as well there can actually explain it. There is something they call state capture. And that's our biggest problem. Somebody has taken this country, which is a public property, a public space, and has put it in the pocket. I'm not talking about the current president and his deputy. They are passerbys. It is a system. It's not about people. It's not even about the first Kenyatta or the second Kenyatta. It's not even about Kibaki for me. It is our system. Our system is so strange. We have the most brilliant people on earth. Kenyans. Really brilliant who can tell you, a surgeon who can tell you, this is where you are suffering from. And a water engineer who can tell you, according to this population here, this is the amount of water you have. In this document, you will see, we contracted them. They told us, just an example, as you already mentioned, almost over 500 million cubic meters of water is flowing in all the rivers, all those water basins. That's a lot of water. Over 1 billion cubic meters of water, and 50 million going to Israel has very little source of water. Very little. And it comes from Jordan. And if Jordan tries to hold that water, they say we'll start war. Here, I was told when we meet our experts, they tell us, you guys in Akimani, you think that there's no water in Kenya. We even wrote here, Kenya is water scarce. We met one engineer who told us, Kenya is not water scarce. You guys were cheating the public. Sorry, it's here because we insisted in the group like it must be there to capture. Kenya is not water scarce. What is lacking is the political will because the country has been captured. CJ recently said in London, parliamentarians, the executive and the legislature have taken down the country. And I agree with them. I could not agree with him even more. I agree with him very much. They have taken over the country. And unfortunately, because they are the ones we are supposed to go back and take this document, you can imagine, as he said, wherever place we are going to go. If we say that include my sister and my mother in the management of water, can they allow? But that gender rule, has it passed? No. Yeah. Why? They have captured the country. So, solution. I don't have a proper one, but I'm trying to pick up. If the Constitution says we must exercise our right as directly, I was dreaming last night. Maybe the amendment that the politicians are planning, they are not making this constitutional amendment they were hearing for your benefit. No. They want to sit among themselves. Yeah. Even the one he said he was retired was told to be quiet. I was dreaming last night, daydreaming that maybe we should have what we call, if you're going to amend the constitution, what we call ward assembly. You know, you have county assembly, yes. Ward assembly whereby any Kenyan who has a voter's card can enter in a situation, a place like this, and we discuss issues. And it is written, then it is taken to the county, and then from the counties to Kisama Atutaki. For me, that's the way I was dreaming. It could be a possible way of actually actualizing public participation. And you don't pay us. We come here, we have board administrator, the MCA tunamwambia kuja kukaa wapi? Tusikilize. Sisi hatuna maji. So I don't know whether I was doing wrong, but because the state has been captured, so I'm thinking let me capture the ward also. So maybe if I capture the ward, so that if they are going to change the constitution, they must make it. Why? doctor has told us, the good lawyer has told us, there's a lot of money in the county. It is true. But our recent discovery, when we went to the counties, most of our governors and their cabinet, and I'm sorry to say it, and I will say it in public, they live here in Nairobi. Mambo imerudi kama ya zamani. The guy is in Turkana, their county, or Marsabit. He wants something to be signed. He has to take a car, which is taxpayers' money, all the way to drive, all the way from Marsabit. And you're not driving alone. To come and meet the guy here in Nairobi and say, Mkubwa, ebu sign up. Because he's saying, they were asked, why are you staying in Nairobi? Unajua lazima tupate pesa kwenye treasure. Sasa, Kenyans do not know the country has been taken. So for me, I'm saying it has been captured. Unajua, when somebody you have been captured, you know what happens?
Yes.
Ama wazee wanasema kama umekaliwa. Sio kama umekaliwa hauna sauti. Kwa hivyo naona kama Wakenya tumekaliwa. If they are going to make an amendment so that we have our rights, I'm praying we have a ward assembly whereby anybody with a voter's card can go and discuss issues, and it is recorded, and we demand the MCA to come. Tukifanya hivyo, we will have improved public participation. Sababu utaulizwa kama umefika ama hujafika. And then we will have pushed the counties to listen to our people. So thank you very much.
Okay. So we have to agree. We only have 5 more minutes. Okay, 5 more minutes. So if we'll just take 2 questions, and then we have to wind up the session. Okay. So you've been raising your hand, and oh, sorry. Okay, one.
I've remembered there is minerals. There is this mineral which makes cement. Give some to Kanu. Thank you. As the mineral, I don't know.
Okay, kindly, let's be very brief with our questions so that we can have as many questions as possible. Okay? So after the 2, I'll come to you. Okay,
good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Catherine. I work for the trustees of the Sisters of Mercy. And my questions, like just to be, it's about constitution and also good and women. We have a constitution. And for me, my problem is, when we made this constitution, it talks about human dignity. But when I really look at majority of Kenyans, I wonder if we really achieve human dignity. You as a lawyer, I don't know, maybe if you could be aware that there are many Kenyans who are struggling. They are alert. They are going to the courts. They are trying to get their rights. And something is happening. They are not getting their rights. And worse still is we don't have advocates who are coming to support those people who are vulnerable. I'll give you a very good example. The Sisters of Mercy, they run a school for disabled children in South Street. And that school, it's just a small place, but somebody has taken the land. It's been years. There is a case in court. And even the other people living in the other estate cannot come and say, these are poor children, they are disabled, can we stand up and say, stand for the common good? You know, these are the issues that us common people are struggling with. We fight for women who are vulnerable. I tell you, Mheshimiwa, we've gone to the courts, and we cannot believe what is happening. We do our documentation, we know what is right. Even a case that maybe the High Court will rule that twice, this is the correct thing. The people will go up to the Court of Appeal, and the case will be dismissed. What will you say? But we are still fighting. We are not tired. We are going to fight, and something will have to change. With regards to the youth, I went to my MCA and I told him I wanted to organize a safeguarding seminar because the youth, you know, there's so much into drugs, and I don't blame our youth. It's our systems that have failed. It's we who have failed. It's the teacher there. It's us who have failed. It's not our youth, but we blame them. And I told the MCA, let's organize a talk. And he told me, thank you so much. This is a novel idea, but we need a lot of money. I told him we don't need money. All I want, you gather people. I do trainings. I do trainings. Even we don't need money. You see, I mean, this is the problem that we have.
On the youth, we are not giving the youth opportunities. I had a young guy, a young youth, a Kenyan youth, who is doing a lot in another country about dams. You know, and he said, how can we lack water in this country? He told me like he could not believe. And for me, I felt like crying because I said, if this youth was in Kenya, he would be throwing application everywhere, and nobody would give that youth a job, or he'd be told to be paid like 40,000 or 20,000. I mean, these are the real issues, and these are the real issues that we want the people who've elected as leaders, who we don't even know their telephone numbers. When even we call them for appointment to present these issues, they have no time for us, but we hear there is billions that have been eaten and all these kind of things. I mean, this is our cry. Please communicate.
I'm Moses Kumatie from National Coalition International Commission. For me, I just want to pass a contribution whereby with the issue with the resources in our country, what we need to start considering is about equitable distribution of these resources. Because the funny thing about the politics of this country is that in our counties, I'll give an example, like we did a little research about the equitable distribution of resources. We targeted in 3 counties, that is Nyeri County, Lamu County, and Vihiga County. I'll give a good example of Nyeri. Like, for example, like in Nyeri, Odaya and Nyeri town are well known. I know when people out there look at Nyeri, they think that Nyeri is okay. But when you go to Nyeri and you go to Kini East or Kini West, you'll be surprised. Is this the same county? Like, for example, even the distribution of water. Like, and you'll find that people in Odaya and Nyeri are complaining. And even the MCA will be complaining that my constituency, I don't have enough water, but you forget about Kini East. So you're supposed to look at what are the needs of Kini East and what are the needs of Odaya. You also need to look at what is the population of Kini East and what is the population of Odaya. So that when you distribute these resources, let us distribute according to the needs of that constituency and that area. Thank you.
Oh, they would like you to please come back again.
Okay, I'm Dr. Harold Molo from JPAT, the first Kenyan to tap internet from the moon. And I give the internet connectivity from at JPAT and Kapaeta in South Sudan.
Oh my goodness.
My contribution towards this great engagement is that I want to talk about youth intervention. If we have a look at our society, we're having what is being referred to as transformative masculinity. Meaning our society is being defined by what we see around. For example, we have roles which have been used to define women and young people. This has been the trend. And so it is very, very difficult for us to integrate women and young people within our communities. That is one. And so if you have a look at what is happening here is that we also have what is being referred to as governance tokenism. Most of our politicians are using this strategy to influence our young people. We are calling them the political bandits. What they do is that we define politicians, I'm sorry to say this, on 3 issues. One, we define them as those who are liars. They are murderers, and they must create chaotic environments for them to succeed. And what they do, they give tokens to young people to create chaos. When there is chaos, they succeed. And so they want this status quo to remain, so that they can continue enjoying and making sure that young people are not included in decision-making processes. This has led to what is being referred to as subjects. Young people, our women, are defining themselves as subjects, meaning they don't have powers to define issues affecting them. And what is happening is that once you are a subject, there's nothing that can happen. And if you have a look at young people, to them they are also defining themselves as hustler. Who is a hustler? Who is a sufferer? Then they feel complacent and life is like that. So when a politician here he notes that we have hustlers, he just go there and create political chaos. And that is what's happening currently. So the issue is that how can this big team come up with strategies that can help young people to transform their minds from being subjects to to responsible citizens, those who can make rational decisions on issues affecting them, including our communities. The last bit about my contribution here is that when we look at several interventions that can make this thing work, we have what is being referred to as 3 strategies that can be used. We can engage young people on civil engagement, civic awareness, so that they can stop being subjects. Then we also have the aspect of economic empowerment. And lastly, we have the climate change issues. If you ever look at what is happening, if you can come up with climate change groups, so that they can form part and parcel of climate smart governance, it can be done in 3 ways. We have climate team, we have smart governance strategy of which they can form part and parcel of communities within these given areas. Then this will definitely work. If this doesn't happen, what will happen is that it will lead to I'm calling it a revolution, because we have these enfranchised young people within our communities, and that is why they can easily be radicalized, because there's a gap in their mind, and we are complacent when this gap is growing. So the issue is that this team must come up with strategies to make sure that young people are included in the decision-making processes. That is one. Secondly, that void in their minds can be addressed through the affirmative action according to the Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution. And finally, we must address the reverse mentoring within our society so that the status quo may change, and this will definitely drive the desired outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine is not a question, it is just an observation of the forum. And I am very happy to have been invited to come for this forum. Number one, what we require ourselves after the seminar is let us become trainers of trainers. The information we are getting here, we have groups where we are coming from. For example, church. Let us pass that information to them. Lack of knowledge is what is bringing a lot of problems to our society. If we do civic education on all evil things we are talking about, we can move to a point. Radicals that are using counseling to our young people. And this one will help us. Okay. 1 point for the lawyer. According to the Constitution, the young people, the child, is their right to be given education. Sociology makes teachers to go on strike, denying the children education against the Constitution. Law Society of Kenya is working for the society and everybody else in our country. Why don't we institute a legal process to socially for denying our children education? If he is fighting for salary for teachers, he can take government to court and leave the teacher to teach in the class. And that one is allowed. Teacher continue teaching, sociology goes to court to file a case against TSC and the government to increase the salary for the teachers, which is their right. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone. My name is Enid from Ajado Link for Life. So mine is a question. So I have taken Daktari's call to action. So I will plant more trees, I will harvest rainwater. But besides this, so the third action, if I want to take my leaders to account, if they're not doing their part, so I'm doing my part and I still don't have water. And I've learned today that it's a legal right, it's in the Constitution. What steps can I take as an individual or a small organization to take my county executive for water or my CS or my MPA to action for the part that is not doing good? So thank you. So one more from this gentleman, the final one from sister, and then we can answer.
It's afternoon.
I'm happy because this discussion started some time back and I was part and parcel of that discussion. And directly, just as a point of information, as I also put something across, is that we don't want to work helpless. That's the point that if we start acting helpless, we are defeated from the one point. Because we are talking of things that are within our hands. Nobody gives us permission to go and eat. So why should it be an issue that we should do something related to our own business? So for those people who are talking about the issue of what should happen or who should start what, it is we ourselves should start that conversation. I'll start with what we have done as a person within one of the countries you mentioned, the DM's country. And I come from the area that is so dry. And I can tell you, we have time, we are going to create something here, whereby we have 40,000 trees that have survived in 3 months and planted by non-people, private persons, but not the government. But those issues not be highlighted in the media. We have also considered that we have seen the issue of if you want the climate to be sustainable, then you must have people take care of that. So mentor the young people, but as you mentor them, empower them so that they stick in schools to address those issues with a lot of knowledge. So the issue is how innovative are we as people and persons within the sectors that we are in. So we should not act helpless. There are so many things that are happening, but they are not put in focus because the media is not down there. If you go down there, that's where things are happening. But these things are not mentioned. But the truth of the matter, why are we focusing on Tana and the other ecosystem? It's because this is the ecosystem that can cause us trouble. You'll be surprised to know that the water comes to Nairobi does not originate from Nairobi. It does originate from Karura. So don't plant tree at Karura. Go plant tree at Mount Kenya, Aberdare, and the Mount. Because if you don't do that, the conflict that is going to be here, and what we are saying the other time, is the next world war with your water. And it has started already. Because these are the basins we are talking that gives water to another basin. There's another story behind that is such. I don't know to put those details. Yes, we might have some time to do that. But I can tell you for a fact, those are the ecosystems that are feeding everybody. If we try to break them down. So, sister, if you want more on how we can do it, we are doing it. And I'm also a Catholic, so I know some. It's only that we are not focused by media because we are little.
I'm Sister Lydia Alfonso, and I want to talk about water. We all know that water is life. Without water, none of us will survive here. And so, I was listening to the inputs given by the lawyer, and I am glad to be here because being in Kenya, I have observed and shared experience with different people who have told me that people are suffering from poverty and there is no water. Some institutions, the Catholic institutions, they have to put water and tap outside for people to come from far away to come and get water to drink. I am worried, and it is a big concern for every one of us. So what I'm asking is, we talked about the main source where the water is coming from. And I was like, are there no people who are in charge of taking care of this place to make sure that this place is kept clean and put in order? And I understand, based on our sharing here, that there are people put in charge. But the others, my sister here talked about the village chiefs, okay? That if they fail in their responsibility, my question is, how often do we supervise those who are being put in charge of this, taking care of the source of water? How often is the government or those who are in charge of supervision of these areas, how often do we supervise? If you give me a responsibility and you don't follow up, the leader may decide to do whatever he or she wants to do, and if that person fails, the people suffer. So you that have given the responsibility to this person, how often do you go to check this person is taking this responsibility seriously or not? So I think we still have a big and a long way to go. So unless if we stand and supervise what we have put in place, then we will see the progress. Thank you.
So kindly respond and give your last remarks.
Thank you. I'll start with Sister Catherine. You talked about the struggling Kenyans who are actually fighting, but they have no rights, even when they go to court. You know, it is said, the Swahili people say that samaki akioza huanzia kichwani, sivyo? Na akioza mmoja ni mtumbo mzima. Kichwa kikisha kuwa ni chenye kuoza, hata mkia wanuka. So the problem we have is that the leadership has failed to rise to the occasion, and this is permitting each and every society. My brother James has just said that Justice Maraga, when he was abroad recently, he said openly that the problem is with the legislature, wabunge, na executive, rais mdogo wake na mawaziri. So I understand. But you say that they don't even have lawyers to help them. Now let me say this. Lawyers in this country are 15,000 now. We're about 15,000 against a population of about 40, 50 million. So we are still underserved. But some of us have a special percentage for public interest litigation. I personally have a team of young lawyers who handle cases that have to do with public interest. I'll give you an example. We know very well that the universities in this country have refused to teach and train at the high level of research, and they have now introduced some funny courses called bridging courses. A child who got a D goes to Nairobi University, he is taught maths and English, and they call it bridging courses. So a student who had an A finds himself with a fellow who had a D, and they're all in the university. Yet the law says that should be under TVETA. So I've taken the government to court, and I'm saying universities must concentrate in research and degrees, and let the TVET colleges concentrate in blue-collar training. That's an example. So if you have a matter where you think you have a problem with the lawyer and you want help, feel free to check my contacts. I may not manage all, because the need is high, but where I can, I will. The youth have no opportunities. It is surprising because the Katiba has expressed provisions for the youth, doesn't it? Yes. So why don't they have opportunities? My brother here, Dr. you said it very well. You actually identified the problem. But who will do this? We can do a little like my brother Engineer Karimi, the hummingbird. Kile kidogo nachoweza, sio? The late Professor Wangari Mutamazai told us the story of the hummingbird. That's what you're doing. But for effective results, man, you need the state actors to do what is right. And that is why whatever you say, until you fix the politics of this country, until you stop saying politics is dirty. Who made it dirty? If you're dirty, don't call the game dirty. Until the women of this country, the girls of this country, who are the numerical majority, stop watching Afro cinema when it is news time. And they take interest in the politics of this country. Until the young people take it to the politics of this country and say enough is enough, we will not fix it. Forget it. It starts and ends with the politics of this country. And it's not easy, my brother said, it's a system. In 1963, the Mau Mau, who had been fighting for independence, when the white man got tired, he did not give them the leadership. He called those who were London educated and who could carry on the white man's mission and gave them the flag of leadership. And therefore, as we speak, the system that was there in 1963 is being propagated today. So the sons of the Mamau fighters today are at best Mungikis and Mkokoteni pushers. But the sons of the Home Guards are in the center of power today. It is a system that has been planted. And so in 2017, when Raila was fighting and saying there are no elections, the results are wrong, the EU convened and said elections are over. Where in this country does a foreigner come and say elections are over? So the interests are far and wide. It takes what I say, alertness, knowledge, and passionately obstinate. Moses, you talk about your kit of distribution. You're right. Some places have more, others don't have. And who distributes this? Fix the politicians. Transformative tranquility. My brother, you have very good terms. You need to talk. He talks of governance tokenism. Kitu kidogo. Peana kidogo. The former deputy governor said there, we are a people up for sale. And by the way, it has permitted so much that even in professional societies like the LSK, Doctors Union, these NAT you're talking about, the state actors come in and identify who will represent their interests, and they give the money, and people are bought. It is a state under capture. One association. Now, the Constitution grants rights to you, but it also says that as you enjoy your rights, you must not infringe upon the rights of others. So teachers have a right to give notice to withdraw their labor. It is protected by the Constitution if their labor dispute. So legally speaking, sociology is not wrong. But rather than go for sociology's head, why don't we go for the state actors and ask, why are they waiting until sociology has to declare a strike? Usimlaumu mwewe mbona kakula vifaranga. Uliza kuku na wewe unajua mwewe yuko hapa, ulienda nini nje tambarani? Kajiado, the lady from Kajiado, you said, what do you do to force these politicians? The answer is what I've said. Passionately obstinate. Be prepared for the long haul. Ukifikiria ni mchezo, hautatoboa. But you must start. I mean, without you knowing, Omutata has won so many cases for public investigation, some of which you are benefiting. Finally, my sister, you seem to be a foreigner, right? Welcome to Kenya. You are asking who supervises these chiefs. Fisi, achamchunga fisi. The fellow you are sending down to supervise is the problem. So the supervisor and the supervisee are cut from the same cloth. You can only have the same cloth. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Father James Kayanda and Dr. Talala Mwana. So right now we are going to have a brief session with everyone else as you
Hello.
All right, please pay attention. Our microphones are off, but we can still hear you.
No, it's there. We can get it. Hello. I hope you had a good session. All right. Now we have some of the Waheshimiwas who have come, but we had a kind of debate, food security debate with them. And we asked them if we can have, they can speak to us before we go for lunch, or we have lunch, then they speak to us. So what do you prefer? They speak to us now? Yes. Oh my goodness, that makes life even easier. Because we tried to convince them that some people might not have the capacity to hold on. But since we are practicing democracy and you have said, let Jesus speak, let the president, let Waheshimiwa speak to us. So may I ask, so the Waheshimiwas, please, if you can go to, and bring them over. Because we just had a really conversation with them. We told them, they need to eat. And then they said, okay, so Senator Olekina was just saying, I was told 2 p.m. I'm here before time, I need to go back. But now he will be very happy that you are ready to listen to him. So I'll ask Honorable Modegu, please, to start taking over the first chair there. Yeah, I think. So in the meantime, we will be able to know whether the speaker will make it by 3 because we have changed the program. Most likely when we're having lunch, we'll give you an answer whether the speaker will make it before we leave. Because he intended to come very early in the morning, and those of you who came early may realize that we delayed a little bit. So he got himself into something else, and normally Tuesday is a busy day for them. So he said at the end at 3 sharp, he will come. So now that we have changed a little bit, we will inform you about the speaker. But we are very much in touch, and is very interested to come. But we already have our guests, and I don't know, His Excellency Oparanya is somewhere in Russia, but he said they wanted to make sure that his message is here. So if whoever was sent by His Excellency Oparanya, please make yourself known to us so that we can make sure his message is at home. So Waheshimiwa, please come straight, Ukumbele. Bishop, please. Bishops, please, if you can make your way here, kindly. No, yeah, you will listen from me. Bishop, please.
So, all protocol observed. I'd like to inform our Waheshimiwa to introduce them. Former MP, Honorable Mwadegu from the extreme left. The Nairobi County Assembly Speaker, Honorable Beatrice Elachi. And Senator Ole Kina, right here in the middle, and our two Right Reverend Bishops, Bishop Rotich, Alfred Rotich, and Bishop John Obala of Ngong Diocese, and is also the chair of this forum since we are dealing with matters of justice and peace. With that brief introduction, I'd like to introduce the moderator for this session. I didn't tell you what happened. We agreed we give them time to go and eat. And Madam Elachi, being the good mother she is, she told the senator that, Senator, calm down, kwa sababu watu lazima wakule. So he reluctantly accepted. But now, when we came down to the participatory constitutional mandates that we needed people's participation, they said, let them speak to us straight away. So we changed what we agreed. So that's why you've come. Now, I'd like to introduce Father Reverend Dr. Baru of Kwea, who is going to be our moderator. Please, let's welcome him.
So, good afternoon. I think we have been charged to listen to the three who are going to speak to us. We are going to give them 10 minutes each, and I hope that that is sufficient to hit the points on county and national government response and action, because this is the area that they are going to address. In order to show how smart water governance, or what we are calling climate smart water governance, is being handled by county governments. Remember, what we had in the morning is that we are supposed to always consider inter-county shared water ecosystem, because we know very well that counties are ever in dialogue, if not in conflict, regarding sharing of the resources. When you talk about counties, I know that I come from Nyandarua County and we are feeding Nairobi, but as we feed Nairobi, we are suffering. Therefore, I would like to hear what our speaker will say about that, because Asumua Dam is in Nyandarua County, and not only that, we also have other two major sources of water that are running to other counties. So this is what we are going to be taken through by our able speakers, and they will therefore help us to understand what are the responses of the government, both at county level and also at national level, regarding a response to this issue. So the first one to speak to us is none other than Honorable Thomas Mwadegu, Director, Financial Assets Authority. Most welcome. Let us give him a hearty clap as we welcome him to speak to us.
Thank you very much. Giving a politician 10 minutes, at times a big problem. My Lord Bishops, I recognize you, my colleagues in the political arena, and I'm not sure whether I'm still in politics. I'm now a director in unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. And I can see very many of my colleagues here whose mind is lying with us. They have not come claiming it. Please, as we finish this session, come over. The task you have been given is to look at what you have, the water resource, and the governance. And I'd like to move a little bit back and say, even before we started addressing this issue, water was there. The previous governments, which were there before devolution, had water, and the water was being distributed. We have the historical factors that are affecting us now. And I'll quickly give you an example of my region, Coast. We have Mzima Spring, which has a lot of water. All the water was directed to Mombasa. And the Taitas were there. Did they get the water? No. Who are these people in Mombasa who are more superior than the Taitas? That's for you to answer. But at least they have the water. After all these years, have there been any efforts made to change that scenario? The answer is yes. Has it been successful? The answer is no. Governance. What is happening in our counties as far as water governance is concerned? We have all these people who have come up, and at times there are people who thrive on confusion. The session which has just ended up here, we are looking at the various bodies in the water sector. To the extent that everybody is confused, if you have a water problem, where will you address it? We have WARMA, we have Water Trust Fund, just name them. I think there are about 14 dealing with the same resource. So who is in charge, really? That's for you to answer. Deviations. What has happened to this resource? In the morning, when I was listening, the question was, do we have enough water for everybody? Yes, we have enough water for everybody. Are we sharing the water? The answer is no. Others have the water and others do not have water. Budalangi. People are being washed away by the floods in Budalangi. In northeastern frontier or the northerners, there's no water. So where is the problem? Distribution, management. There are only two places I've gone in this country where people fight over water, and it's not that the water is not enough. No, they are fighting because the fellow below you is telling you, please find a place where your water will pass through. I don't want it. Staki maji yako yatafutie nini nafasi. There are only two places in Kenya, and I think I've traveled widely. There are very few places where I've come across that kind of situation, but they are there. What have we done with it? Have we harnessed that water? No. So the question is, are our priorities upside down? You can answer that. We keep on saying, can we harvest water? And I think there was a policy that came up at one time, we should harvest the water. What happened to that policy? It went down the drain. Are we serious with what we are doing with water, we as Kenyans? And I'm tempted to think and to say, no. Since we got independence in 1963, it's now 2019, and we are discussing about policy framework on water. How many years down the line? All these years. And we have the Water Act 2016. Are we saying the 2016 Act was enacted without a policy? Some of you are tempted to tell me, Mwadebu, you are there in Parliament, you should be able to tell us. But that is not the issue. The issue is there is something wrong somewhere. Our water towers, the climatic conditions, the forest cover, what have we done with it? This morning, my good friend here was telling us, let's not cut the trees. Let's continue planting the trees. But if your investment is in trees, you have 100 acres of land, and you have decided you will not construct houses, you will invest in trees, and you have given yourself 5 years within which to harvest those trees. What are you going to do? Are you going to leave them there? No, you're going to cut them. Factories that came up in Timboroa, the timber factories, what has happened to them? They were there. The timber was being logged. The water catchment areas were being affected. Who was there to say no? And recently, and I'm happy, Olekina is here, Senator Olekina is here. There's a big problem in Narok, and I hope you'll touch on it. And there's a big division in this country. Should people move out of the water towers, or should they remain? Others said they should move. Others said no. These are our chambers. What do? You are taking us out of these chambers to go where? We won't move. We'll stay here. So the question is, have we been serious in, first of all, classifying our resources, knowing what is affecting our water resources, and how are we going to manage these water resources? My answer is, we have not been serious. We've just been doing policies, we've just been talking about it, and we have not actually acted on it. We keep on talking of the tiger economies, but at times, an element of force is required to see to it that certain things are done. If I look at the sample we have here, the majority of you are relatively young, the majority of you. Your behavioral patterns are being shaped by what you have acquired from your parents and institutions and the externalities which we are having right now, the mobile phone. Do we expect you to behave the way we are behaving? The answer is no. Were we killing each other when love affair fell apart? Our answer is no. You fellows have taken what? You have decided that whatever happens, if you have been my lover, I've been financing you to do your hair, there's no way another man can admire you, so I've got to kill you. What has changed that? And I think the bishop touched on it, on our values and our concepts. What has changed our values and our concepts? Is it the parents? Is it the church that has moved out of its role? Or what has happened? You need to answer that. What has that to do with the water? It has a lot to do with the water because our behavior has a lot to do with what we are going to get ultimately. Purely on a statistical mode, some of us seated here hardly have 25 years to live on this earth. Sorry, bishops, I'm not saying you died tomorrow. But the point I'm trying to make, if we are over 60, purely statistically, 80, 85, you should be saying bye to. If you have not done what you ought to have done, then I don't think you have much time to do it. But you have more time on this earth than us. Agreed? Statistically. Right? So who ought to be more concerned about what is happening on the environment? You or us? Are you? That's another question, which is highly doubtful, whether you are concerned about the environment the way we are. Impunity and arrogance. During this morning session, something was mentioned of what is happening on the conflicts which are going on. The conflicts between the pastoralists and the agriculturalists. And Taita was touched. Yes, last week, there were camels which were slaughtered. Right? Where is this conflict coming in? Because our brothers who have come in with the camels, first of all, who have never known camels in Taita, they have come in. Some people have entered into an arrangement with them, they should graze. Right? Entered into arrangements. Now, these fellows have never known boundaries. Out there are no boundaries. Camels just roam. So when they come to your shamba, you are telling the owner, please move out your camels. He cannot understand. First of all, he does not understand Swahili, so he will not answer back. You assume he is not talking to you. That is arrogance. Two, he will tell you, I don't understand what you are saying. and you'll continue grazing his camels. You have maize, that is food for the camels. To him, it is okay. To you, so what happens in the process? Now, who is to intervene? The national government intervenes. But what happens? Already the harm has been done. Somebody has been killed during the conflict. These people now get upset. They go and kill the innocent camels. The camels didn't do anything wrong. They were driven there. But now they have been slashed. How do we end these conflicts? Where is this element of impunity coming in? Has devolution failed to give what we expected? Or is it us who have become raw? I think the latter is more than the former. It's us who have become raw. Illegalities. When we are looking at the concept of water, and the Giriamas, your study was based on Kilifi, and I think Kitui, and Garissa, right? And the trees. Do we have any Giriama here? Anybody from low cost? Don't be shy. Yeah. One of the customs, whenever a Giriama young man was coming into initiation, and we talked of baptismal by fire here and baptismal by water. Whenever you are initiated, you are told to plant 5 coconut trees at that age. Why were you planting 5 coconut trees? So that 5 years from the time you have been initiated, you don't go asking for anybody for coconut to prepare your food. Chakula yetu ni ya nazi na tui. I hope you differentiate the two. Nazi is the nazi itself. Tui is the water that comes from the nazi. So you cannot take food amba haina nini tui. Are we together? So where are you going to get that tui from if you did not plant your 5 trees? So it was mandatory that you plant your 5 trees. All right. What has happened to our cultural values and water? We have diluted them. We have not come together, and we have not taken anything seriously. From a political angle, I'll put it this way. Even in our legislative agenda, at times we are divided. Whether we should move in a particular manner in resolving water conflicts, or we're divided politically. Now that time is not on my side. I'll wind up by saying the following. One, you have a duty to ensure that these policies are anchored and people respect them. It's not the question of just having policies and leaving them hanging. 2, our politicians, I would have been included there, but let me exclude myself. Our politicians need to do more work and engage us more in agreeing on the way forward to preserve water. Finally, the factories which are being built all over this place, they are polluting the water. They are throwing everything in the rivers because it is economically cheap. But what of the hotels? Most of you, I see people from up country, Bwana Moderator, going to Mombasa, and whenever they go to Mombasa, they go to the beach. Have you bothered to ask yourself, where do those hotels empty their sewers? Where? Have you bothered to ask yourself? Zile hoteli zote, choo yao inaenda wapi? And there are many, and I can assure you, all of you go to the washroom in the morning or in the evening. So you're also a contributor. I've not seen anybody raising a hand saying, look here, can we be told where do these hotels empty this? Is it treated? I don't know. There are 101 questions we need to answer about ourselves and this country. So we need to meet more and develop policies and emphasize more on the implementation of our laws and our policies. Without much ado, it has been a pleasure meeting you, and I believe we'll be able to talk.
Thank you very much. Let us once again appreciate him for using the 10 minutes very well. And he has highlighted quite a number of things. And we believe that he has provoked us to think about implementation of the policies that are there, that are in existence. But of course, he has highlighted quite a number of things that we need to pay attention to: the political will, and the question of legality, and the question of, again, how do we value that which we have. And I think, once again, let us tell Honorable Thomas that he has really highlighted what we needed to hear. Let us appreciate him again. I would like now to hear something about this county, inter-county collaboration between Nairobi and other counties that are around Nairobi. Nairobi is the economic hub, but is the greatest consumer of the water that we are generating from the counties around, isn't it? Murang'a, Kiambu, Nyandarua. Therefore, I'm requesting Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Speaker, Nairobi County Assembly, to come and again highlight some of these issues. Thank you. Most welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Tumsifu Yesu Kristo. That shows you Kenya, Nairobi needs prayers as when we come to water now. But anyway, it gives me great pleasure to always join you on this governance program as we discuss many issues. And I think today we are discussing the most precious resource God gave us. Because everyone who woke up in the morning, I think you've used it. I think even misused it as we walk, as we come here. And I think it is something that I always say when we discuss some of these issues in a context when we come now as Christians. I think I always want to look at it now as me, not as a speaker, not as Beatrice, Senator, I don't know what, but as now me, Beatrice Elachi, from the context that God gave me water. And I know water is life. And I want to thank Wangari Maathai, because we didn't know today in her grave we'll be discussing the things she used to fight for at Uhuru Park. And we used to think at that time, Wangari Maathai, the late, the honorable, the Nobel Prize winner, was mad. That's what we thought when we were young children. So today we talk about it as it affects not just Kenya, but the whole world. When you look at climate change and you look at water, water that you can't do without. You'd rather even lack food, but take water. You'll be in a hospital bed, you'll have a drip, that is water. So for Nairobi and the counties, the most sad part of Kenya today is that we fight for resources, forgetting that these are resources God gave us. You can never create water. It is God who gave this resource. And he knew very well that no human being will have the magic to create it. Only him. That even if you do science, you're doing it, but in the end, you use God's science. That it will go up, condense, and then come down. God. But in Kenya today, we have an attitude of looking at materialistic things and believing this is mine, ni yangu. The water in Murang'a, when it comes to Nairobi, today now we have counties, tumejua sasa ni ya Murang'a, lakini we forget we are in Nairobi, all of us, using the same resource. So in terms of taking care of this water in Nairobi, it is for all of us. The most unfortunate thing is Kenyans fear to get out of comfort zones. Because today, why would you allow a truck to come and sell to you water? Why can't we fight for the solution of having our taps running with what? Water. But we decided we have a few people who will do business and sell water that God said, do not sell water. It's for everyone. That's why in the rural areas we go and find a stream And we used to take care of that stream because that is where we used to get our water. But today we pollute. And it's the same water that we take that gives us diseases. So for me, as counties, we will have to relook ourselves as counties and ask, if you can give us water, what else can we give you so that we share this resource that God gave us? But if we are going to call it ni ya county yetu, na ile ni ya county ile, then Kenyans, we are going in a journey that we are going to fight for materialistic things and kill our nation in the thing of thinking these are things we have a right to have. This have a right to have is killing Kenya. Yet when you die today, you go home with a small coffin and a very small space on land that takes you now to your Creator. And I wish we can look at that way. Not just on water, but on many of other issues that as a country we are dealing with. As a country, if there's anything we've corrupted ourselves in, is the love and the greed of loving things. The love of greed, of fighting each other. You fight, in fact you fight in a social media where you don't want to see each other. Why can't we fight here? Face me and tell me, here, as a Mheshimiwa, you have wronged. And I have to face you and say, forgive me for wronging. And when you forgive me, Because one of the other things that is killing our country, and that is why we're having scarce of water, people fighting, people wondering, why is Murwesho with water from Loitoktok going all the way, but Loitoktok, they don't have water. Why? Then you find others telling you, water from Chunut Hills, from Makueni, goes straight to Mombasa. But Makueni people do not have water. And then you find our government deciding we need 14 institutions to run this one commodity. And so they fight each other in those boards. The board of Athi says we are the owner of Athi. Then we have Tana saying, no. We are the ones dealing with Tana River. So I think even the government is the one that has confused us completely with the commodity God gave us. And we need to tell government, time is good. And now, can you bring back all this together? And let us have one institution that can run or decide now per counties where this water is coming from. And I think counties like those who are supposed to conserve the Zavo, these are 12 counties, starting with Nairobi itself. You are within that region of the Zavo, conserve it, then conserve the water, because if we are not careful, in 15, 20 years, Coast Province won't have water. Climate change will kill their own water. They will find themselves in the worst, but it will be the whole of Kenya suffering if Mombasa doesn't have water, if Coast Province doesn't have water. So as I finalize, I just want to say, as Christians, we talk about too much, a lot of things. Christians are the ones who have created the problem. Even the attitude of our children is for Christians. They are the sufferers than our Muslim brothers and sisters. Because we have decided the church is a fashion show where we go, because Sunday I have to go with my family, but when we go back home, the issues we are carrying, we need Bishop to be there to help us. So Christians, you have an opportunity to change Kenya or to kill it the way we are killing it, with our spirit. We have a spirit of jealousy that we need to ask God to remove from us. A spirit of killing other people's innovation. A spirit of feeling, why is it that family only, not me? So you come and you thrash and you thrash and you thrash. We have reached until we have now reached at a level where we have decided what my right hand gives in church, my left hand has to know, and we clap about it, and yet we are saying we are living in the course of the Bible. It is our attitude as Christians that can change Kenya or kill Kenya. God bless you.
Thank you very much. I believe that that clap is a sign that she has addressed a number of issues, isn't it? Let us appreciate her once again. Honorable Elachi, the Speaker, Nairobi County Assembly, we are ready to share the goods of creation together. One of the key teaching of the social doctrine of the church, or the social teaching of the church, is that goods of creation are to be universally shared. And I think this is it. So we are no longer going to complain that we are giving water from Nyandarua, Murang'a, Kiambu to Nairobi. Now what we are going to say is we no longer have this materialistic attitude where we want to possess. What we want to do is to share. And therefore counties are going to benefit, each county benefiting from the other. But we are going to say, as you have put it very well, that let us not have, those resources, directed to other places, whereas where those resources are coming from, those people are not, benefiting. And I think this is what we are going to hear even now from Honorable Senator from Narok. And you know that he has been sitting on a smoking pot because of Mau Forest. Let's hear from him. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Let me start by thanking the moderator, who I'm still trying to remember how to pronounce all his title. He's a Reverend Father Dr. Peter Mbogwa. Thank you very much for all this. Mheshimiwa Wandegu, Mheshimiwa Elachi, and all people who are seated here this afternoon. I was invited here to talk about the challenges which are facing the issue of conservation. And that is where I'm going to focus on my presentation. But before I do that, I would like acres. Can I not harvest it? Can I sell the timber? In fact, currently, because of climate change, Mheshimiwa will tell you, you cannot do that. There are so many other things that technology has brought. There's something called carbon credit, which you can invest in it so that the future generation, and particularly the younger people who are the majority here, can be able to have a tomorrow. In fact, Mheshimiwa, I would say, we should be seated there and allowing these young people to tell us how do they want us to preserve their environment. One of the biggest challenges that we face in this country is that this is a country that has so many laws, so many laws. The biggest problem is not making new laws or challenges in making new laws. The biggest problem we have is implementing those laws. The day that we bite the bullet and we begin implementing the laws is the day this country will move forward. I lived in the US for over 20 years. And I can tell you, every single day when I was on the highway, my phone would be full of pictures of just how beautiful the environment was. Of course, there are those challenges of pollution, factories coming up and destroying the environment. But at least in some places, especially where the affluent community lived, you will find that they have protected their environment. They have beautiful trees, water. But now let's come back to Kenya. If you look at our water catchment areas, we have destroyed them. Why have we destroyed them? Because, one, we don't really care about tomorrow. All we care is about today in our own special interest. When I got into Parliament, I was mesmerized by the number of reports. One in particular on the Mao Forest. There was special recommendation, on how to preserve that water catchment, so that we can preserve not only the Maasai and the Kalenjin people of Narok, but the entire Kenyan population. Because when you look at it, the number of rivers that originates from the Mao Forest are so many, such that even energy, production of energy through hydropower, in Western Kenya, would have depended on the Mao ecosystem. When you go to the Masai Mara ecosystem, right now, during the drought, I thank the Lord because now it's raining. But during the drought, the entire landscape or the entire ecosystem is littered with carcasses of dead animals because the river is dry. Yet we still talk about wanting to preserve our tourism sector because it's our #1 foreign income earner. So what challenges do we have? The challenge is narrowed down to one particular thing: special interest. Nothing else. Because when Ledamo Lekina, gets into power, I tend to think that I'm a demagogue. I grab all the land that I can grab. I want to grow tea. And what happens when you grow tea? You need to be able to process it. What do you use to process tea? Wood. So you venture into Mao Forest. You go as far as an Eminengio forest in Loita. As a matter of fact, I stopped one cabinet secretary from ferrying wood from an Eminengio forest, which is in Loita. And I told him, if it wasn't for you, I would have had your truck burned down. Because what you're doing is you're destroying the future of this country. So really the challenge is on your part now, when you're seated here. What can you do to be able to ensure that you have a future? The government will not do a damn thing. You're told here they have 14 institutions. Let me tell you how sad the situation in Narok County is. The most devastated forest is actually owned by the Narok County government. And you would think, because they care about their people, and I mean care, they would protect it with everything they can. But because of political interest, they can't dare talk about it. And when the senator, who the Constitution has mandated me, with the powers actually, he has given me the mandate to protect the interest of counties and their government, start saying, my biggest interest is to ensure that Wanjiko, Omera, or Mondi down the road has water. Talks about it, they say he's a warmonger. So the challenge is now up to you. What can you do? When I sat down and I thought about all these challenges, the first thing that I did was to establish my own trust. I set up something called Olekina Conservation Trust. And the first thing that I did with that trust is that I used technology. We are so lucky now that we've got the internet, which my dear good friend was talking about, which is shaping our behavior, shaping our future. When you take a few minutes and you use Google, who is a friend to everyone, you will come across something called aerial seeding. So I just spent some time, I did, what can I do? I want to cover a big area with trees because what I want our rivers to continue flowing. Because when you go to Kericho, tea was drying up. When you go to Bomet, the rivers were completely dry. In Narok, the rivers were dry. And people were fighting. So I discovered there's something called aerial seeding. Then I started contacting companies. The only company I got was in the US. And then they told me, we just sold an aeroplane to a company in Kenya called Farmland Aviation. He is a contact. And because when you do something which is good and it's for the future generation, people will care, the gentleman at Farmland Aviation donated over 10 million shillings to come and help me plant over 20 million trees in the Mara. So really, because these challenges, we cannot overcome them because of special interests, it now behooves you as a citizen of this great country called Kenya to start taking matters into your own hands. Start planting trees. Every day, if you wake up and you say, I'll plant a tree, I'll buy a seedling, when it is raining. Because if you don't plant that tree, when the rains come, floods. All the water goes to Lake Magadi. Talk about siltation. Talk about, everything being washed away. Talk about the topsoil. So you will continue suffering. So the little thing you can do is to preserve this environment. Start planting trees. When you plant trees, you'll be guaranteed of getting water. And finally, because I'd love to talk about this for a very long time, is that when it comes to the issues of counties sharing water, it is quite sad, and my two colleagues have spoken about it. My dear sister spoke about Nolturesh. In fact, I have a piece of land right next to the source of water, which for many years was used to water flowers in Kitengela. The water will come all the way from Nolturesh, around 190 kilometers to the river. And in my own farm, I did not have water. These are realities. So because we are bequeathing this world to you, the future generation, or the younger generation, I'm pleading with you. When you live here, the message you send out in social media, in Twitter, all over, is that unless we plant trees, unless we take care of our environment, there will be no tomorrow. God bless you.
I think we can just say, wow, isn't it? Wow. Let us say it again. Wow. Why? Because we now see a man of action, isn't it? And this comes from able senator who has been working very hard to preserve and conserve the environment and, of course, conserve this variable good, that is water. We appreciate you, and you have given us a wonderful input showing that it is possible, that we are not going to become people who are going to join what sometimes I call perpetual lamenters. People who continue lamenting but doing nothing. Let us appreciate him once again. Because what we have provoked this young generation is to take an action. And I have been reading about aerial seeding. Just planting trees in big forests by just dropping seeds, and they just grow naturally. I thought that is happening in countries beyond the boundaries of Africa, but it is happening here in Kenya, and I think we can do it. All we need to do is to have that kind of determination. Now, something that has brought out very well, and it has come from the three presenters, is that we have good policies in place. That does not mean that the policy that is being suggested after the research that was done by our able researchers, that those policies are not going, or that policy is not going to be implemented or ratified. But what they are trying to tell us is that we have good policies in place. The problem is implementation. But who is going to implement? Who is going to implement these policies? Us. But who are we? We are the stakeholders. All of us. And of course, the driving engine is the government. both at county level and at national level. So once again, we are setting our politicians who are here with us to push for the implementation of these policies so that we conserve that which God has given us. And I think this is what we are asking you, Honorable Rachi, Honorable Olakina, and our former politician, Thomas Mandego, because we believe that you have still the power to push for the implementation of these policies. We have not lost it completely. And I think this is the kind of hope that you are setting to this audience that are keenly listening to you. So as a moderator of this session, I say we have done us proud for coming to share with us. But perhaps these people will feel short-churched if they are not going to ask one or two questions. Isn't it? Oh, you can see even before I tell them to ask, the hearts are up. Because they would like to hear. Now, what is it that is preventing us from turning this wheel round so that our environment is conserved, water is preserved, so that we don't hear these bad stories that we heard during these few months of drought that we experienced. You know, we heard that hippos were dying in Mara River, isn't it? Crocodiles were also dying, and he has even said it, that we had carcasses, or we have carcasses littering the bed of Mara River. And this has been happening because of our way of doing things and our lifestyle. So let us pick a few questions. I don't know how we are going to do it, because do we have a can I call it mobile microphone? Yeah, it is mobile because it is in the hand of somebody who is mobile. Can we have one question here? Yes, one, then two, three, and please be as brief as possible, to the point, isn't it? And you say to whom you are directing the question. So I've said 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, we need 6. So those are like 6 questions. So then after that, we are going to take another round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Kamoro. My question goes to Honorable Senator. In regards to intellectual property, when you plant a tree in Nalo or in Taikata where they practice this kind of trading, how can you then claim the rights over that tree where you are planting so that thank you.
Good, thank you.
My name is Engineer Bokrim. I want to take this question to the honorable members. I want to ask whether they see any connection in terms of climate change and job creation, so that when they are talking of job creation, that there are so many opportunities in that place that it can utilize at the last place of it. Thank you.
CJPC, my question is directed to Senator Olakina. I plant trees at my rural area, and I'm surprised when I'm told that the trees are going to be put down at a pay. I wonder, is this an directive from the government or is from personal? At the same time, at my church, we have planted trees, but we are being perturbed by the behaviors of the wildlife animals. These are monkeys. We want to assist us. I think you're right for that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ronald Odinga, and I work for Mountain. My question goes to all of about accountability. You have said that it is our role to hold you guys accountability. But my question is, how do you hold you and others accountable when you raise a concern, you are blacklisted, when you come out together and protest and deliver petitions, nothing is done. When you do follow-ups, you are questioned by the police, and then thirdly, you receive threats, and then you go even further, you are tortured and even killed. So, give us other ways so that we can use to approach you guys so that we can hold you accountable without being tortured or being killed.
My name is Mayabi. I come from Istream Africa, and mine is actually not a question, but it's an observation and a challenge to our honorable members. And this is one, the observation. We are the people, and when we see the government, the officers being the perpetrators of impunity, we keep quiet because he is not attacking you, he is not doing something against you. So we are the main cause, we keep quiet and expect things to work. Why can't we talk? To the honorable members, I think we have many laws. Actually, I'm a lawyer also, and we have many laws that are very useless, that if they are merged into one, they'll be very productive. And secondly, our members of parliament, we should be the main people who relay this information to the public. We should be there at the forefront to create groups. We have many unemployed youth who are very ready to take up on afforestation and all those. So please come to the ground, work with the church. For example, CDPC is a very good group. Work with these groups. Stop talking only in the media. Come on the ground. We are ready to work. Youth are very idle. We want to work. So take that up on yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The sixth one.
Thank you so much. I think I like to start by introducing myself. My name is Habib Michael Mendes, and I work for Pan-African Biogas in Alliance. What I just wanted to say are two things. One is to congratulate you, Senator. Please, you're one of the people that is giving us hope. I think it's you and Senator Mutula. Please keep it up, because we are seeing hope in some leadership. The second thing is there's a lot of confusion in terms of the policies. People say, like for instance, you take the water, they're called the water catchment areas, or the water towers.
Water towers, yeah.
The Forestry Act defines it differently. The Water Act defines it differently. The Urban Planning Act, because you find that the Forest Act will say you're supposed to cultivate 60 meters. The Water Act will come and say 30 feet. Another will come and say, so there's that confusion and lack of consonance in our policy. So could you please champion that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was one question there, then they will respond, and then we will go for another round.
Good afternoon, my name is Jeremiah. I'm a psychologist. I have two questions. Question number one goes to the speaker. Lati, I want to know, why do we struggle in Nairobi to get water? Why policy can be put across and you can remind the MCAs that water is right to Nairobians? Because we shouldn't be buying it. That's number one. Number two, to Senator and former MP, why do you allow the executive to keep recycling leaders while we have the universities producing graduates? When we look at the commissions, we are having son of so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so. Why don't we allow the young people to take over the mantle?
Thank you very much. So we'll give them a chance to respond to these questions. And we can start with the Senator. just from where you are, you respond to a few questions that have been asked.
I appreciate it. Patrick, you have a very good question in terms of intellectual property rights, carbon credit. This is a very interesting field, and in this country we're still very new at it. And what I would like to encourage you is that plant more trees, and then they'll come to you. I reminded you that there's a very good friend called Google. If you Google, you will find companies that are working, or agencies. I know USA, who I think are part of your funders, or UK aid, they have a sector that focuses on carbon credit. So I would encourage you to maybe look into that. Engineer training, climate change and employment. Let me tell you, right now, if you plant trees, I'll come by them. That is great employment. Because then I'll buy them, I'll go plant them in other places. So I want to encourage a lot of people to go to Kefri, buy seeds, propagate them. I can guarantee you it will help us be able to save this planet. Because someone like me or someone else will buy those seeds, you will get a job, or by savings you get a job, and you will also be able to save the planet. Daniel, I would like to know who is that telling you that they come and pull down the trees without your consent. Who has that right? No one has the right to do that. In terms of the monkeys, and I'll let my dear sister respond to that, but we are the problem because we encroach into their territories. Okay? There's a lot of population rise in Kenya, and actually when this population is increasing, we are going in there to interfere with them. The monkeys live peacefully until we cut down the trees, we burn the charcoal, until we go in and destroy the rivers where they get the water, we destroy the trees where they get their food. Now they come back to us and say you have to pay. So there, I can't help my friend. You are responsible. Just the last one, and then I'll leave the other questions to be asked. I'll answer a question, I'll leave the question by Ronald, but actually the question by Ronald is a very good question. Ronald, keep on trying. Let you be accused of having failed, but never let yourself be accused of not having tried. Bring the petition to me, and I guarantee you I'll champion your rights, so that your leg is not broken down here. But don't worry, some of us will resist. You can see we're still surviving here. The last one, Habibi Nyongesa. You asked a very good question in terms of the conflict in these legislations. We're finding that a lot. But sometimes the executive is to blame. Let me tell you, I fought the executive in two legislations. This is the Energy Act and the Petroleum Bill. There's the Petroleum Act, the Petroleum Bill, and the Energy Bill. We went around the country, we listened to around 17 stakeholders, and because of what I started by telling you, special interests, all the views of all those stakeholders were thrown out of the window. Because the executive wanted nothing to change from those legislations. So until we change the executive, and elect leaders who you know will go there and represent your interests, will continue having all these problems. But we will do what we can to be able to ensure that we realign these legislations. Because like right now, we have a bill which has been in the Senate. It was started by my sister. I liked when she was there. She was part of the 11th Parliament Senate. This had to do with local content. And then there was another bill by Senator Zani that talks about, what was it? Natural resources benefit sharing. Those two bills deals with the same issue. Because it's local content, it talks about the upstream, it talks about how do we benefit the local community, how do we share these resources. Instead of merging those two bills, those bills are still going on together. And then when you go to the Energy Act, which is currently in place, it talks about how those natural resources will be shared. When you go down to the local context, even the Petroleum Act, it talks about all those, and they all conflict. But the moment you say, no, we must have one legislation that takes care of local content, you are told, well, some people here have to benefit. So it is a man-eat-man society. We are still struggling. I leave it up to you, the future generation, the younger generation, to fight for your space. We will do what we can, but you also have to make that noise. And finally, you must participate in the lawmaking process. It is embarrassing, let me tell you. We spend a lot of money in Parliament putting out advertisements of a public participation hearing when the laws are coming in place. But let me tell you, when you go there, you'll probably just find one guy who went to school in London, studied very hard, came back here, he just reads, he goes sit there, he gives his views, but you sit here, you continue lamenting, but you don't take advantage. Please read the paper. When you see the National Assembly or the Senate having issued out an advertisement of any legislation for you to give your views, please go there so that we can be able to understand what it is that you want to do. And finally, I received a request to talk about the issue of water in Narok and Kajiado. We have seen these challenges. In fact, we're talking about having an economic bloc between Kajiado and Narok. And let me tell you, it will just be on paper. Nothing will ever happen. You know, because we're not serious, and it is not being led by the people themselves, but people who believe that they have solutions for everything, but they end up not having solution for anything. God bless you.
Thank you very much. I will start with the issue of the policy of Nairobi. I think one of the biggest challenges is that in Nairobi, the way we look at policy is very sad. We look at policy when we know I was just saying, the way we look at policy is when we know someone has an interest in that policy. And you know, the most sad part of a speaker, be it in the Assembly or even in National Assembly or in the Senate, is that the speaker will never interfere. She or he can only guide. But you look at this policy and wonder, so who has paid these people to come and bring such a policy? But you're quiet because it is their right to bring in a policy. And I'm not just saying in Nairobi County Assembly. I know it's even in Parliament. That's how people work, by the way. It's very sad that you will find someone walking in and saying, we want to change this. You have to read it critically to ask yourself, why are you changing this law? What's the issue? But because you have no right to say no, you put it on the floor, but you know this one, we have the owners of it. Now that's the challenge of Nairobi. So most of the policies of water in Nairobi, people don't touch. Because the moment you open such a Pandora, you will just know everyone is going for a kipindi. So they will go meet outside there, the cartels will tell them, no, don't bring this law. Now you want to kill our business. So they'll be given money. But the most sad part, and I'll tell you, if Igande was here today, one of the things that Igande felt very sad by the time he was leaving is that people you are dealing with on issues of water in Nairobi are very, very wealthy people. They are the ones who do the business of selling the water in Nairobi. And people who are very prominent in this town. So that was the most sad part. And he asked himself, am I going to deal with these same guys I laugh with? He said, no, I think I'm better off. Because I'm going to do something. And you find yourself with so many enemies, and they will remove you instead of changing the water policy that you're bringing in. So that's the challenge of Nairobi. That's why I say it has to start with us. We must decide to come out from the comfort zone and now face and say, we are not going to sell water in Nairobi. All these trucks zungukani, where you get water is where we want the real water to come to the taps. Because there is somewhere they're getting that water. Nairobians have never stood to ask, where do you get your water that you bring with this truck? Where? Why can't we get it directly instead of the truck? So that is one. And then let's go to the issue of riparian land. Again, as I said when I started, that it is up to us, because even on those riparian lands, that the days of Mishuki, we were told 30, with even the conflicting laws, even as we have conflicting laws, are we willing to also just, without the law, have that ethic of saying, this is riparian land, I don't need to touch? Because that is where Nairobians go and build houses. Then when the rivers or when it rains, you find floods all over into the estate. Why? Because you build on riparian land, but nobody can touch you because you are untouchable and because you are with government. So you have a right to do that at that time. Then another time when we have another government that comes in, we come and we demolish everything. And at that time you will find someone who knows very well, I did wrong in the beginning, but you will be so brave. And you know, Kenyans, we know how to open our eyes, and we are so brave when we are lying. That indeed, hii ni shamba yangu, hii ni shamba rebellion. But you're the one fighting at that time. So lastly, I just want to say, in all this we are saying, even as we point fingers to the politicians, see, we are the ones who choose these politicians. Like I always tell Nairobians, don't complain about your government. Don't. You woke up in the morning, know you're going to vote, and there are consequences. So for us who were very brave at that time to say, you can be senator, we became enemies. And we are hit very hard, but I thank God we were right. So even now, don't complain anymore. Give him now time and pray for him to change and change Nairobi. That would be the best for now, because we have it. But if we complain and complain, it doesn't change anything, to be honest. So of late, Speaker, I've said, for me, I said I will pray for my governor, so, and I continue doing that. And that's why when anyone tells me, what is governor doing? I say, pray for him. Pray for him. For you to see the change you've always wanted and you desire to see. And not just for him, but for all the leaders of Nairobi. So that we look at our challenges in totality and say, we will wish to have change. And if we support these leaders, we will see that change. Thank you.
I will spend 2 minutes, since most of the issues have been articulated and our senator has a bill to present. Climate change, unemployment. If we talk of the mara and the animals dying and carcasses all over the place, tourism was affected, employment opportunities have been affected. So you cannot delink climate change and employment. My brothers and sisters, garbage in, choices have consequences. You brought them on board? Please, lament for the next 3 years. Hopefully, you will have learned something. Some people have a bigger learning curve, others have a shorter learning curve. So if you belong to the latter group, if you have a shorter learning curve, 2022, you may make a different decision. Ronald, accountability. Surely, you gave us an opportunity to serve you. We are not serving you. You are quiet. Yes, as Christians, I know silence at times is an answer. Even I think Jesus was asked a question at one time. Was it Pilate? And he just kept quiet. He did not answer. But that was an answer. Don't keep quiet. Do something. You have the ability to change. Don't lose hope. And there's nothing for free. You have to sacrifice something to get what you want. Don't shy off. Finally, the Mining Act, Natural Resources Act by ZANI, the Energy and the Petroleum. All these acts, I was in Parliament when we were doing the Mining Act, the 1% and what have you. In Turkana right now, crude oil cannot be shipped out because those people are demanding something different from that. It's all vested interest. What do we do? Get the correct people to do your legislation. Get the correct MCAs at county level. Get the correct MPs at national level. Get the correct senators. If we had 10 or less here, this country would change. Do you agree with me? Yes. Right. At least you have an answer. May God bless you.
Thank you very much. Let us appreciate them once again. We are going to change only those people who are in another place who do not change, isn't it? What we are trying to say is, because our Senator Olekina is going to present a bill, and I hope it's a good bill. It is. He doesn't want to preempt what he's going to present, and therefore we may not take another round of questions. But if in case you have a very burning question that you need to ask, I believe that these three have also a Twitter handle, isn't it? Yeah. And you can also ask a question through that. And if possible, if they have WhatsApp, you can also get a question from that, isn't it? You may not be able to, only Twitter. So he may give us his Twitter, and even on Honorable Elachi and Honorable Thomas Mandegu. And in that way, you continue on with the discussion. We can still influence these people. There's a discussion in Parliament. You know, they are registrators, and they are the ones who are coming up with these registrations, and we can engage them. I think this debate has to continue. It cannot end with these few minutes that we are engaging them. It can continue on so that we can help them to come up with policies that will influence the change that we are longing for. But I think what we have heard is that change is possible, isn't it? The audience, brothers and sisters, it is possible, but it has also to start with me. Oh, I'm hearing us. It has to start with me, and therefore we appreciate them once again for taking us through this session. Thank you very much. So you'll be provided with the handle after. Okay. So she's saying Beatrice. Yeah, Beatrice Elachi. Then you get, and you'll be able to communicate and share. So he's looking for a third handle that he will share with us. Thank you very much. It is at Ledama Lekina. At Ledama Lekina. So with that you'll be able to get. I spell it Ledama-Lekina. Is that okay? So it is Ledama Olekina, but you remove O. Then you leave it as Lekina. And I think with that we'll be able to get into discussion. Thank you very much. And then Honorable Thomas No. Then Thomas No Taita. Thomas N-O. There is a dot. There is a dot after no. Then Taita. I hope that my mother tongue influence is not corrupting the word. Thomas No. That is N-O. Underscore. No dot Taita. Taita. That is T-A-I-T-A. Thank you very much. Once again, let us appreciate them, and I will now call brother to come and give us the report. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Father Dr. Mbaru from Kwea for moderating the session. Asanteni waheshimiwa, na I forgot to tell waheshimiwa that I'm a Kenyan, and normally whenever I see mheshimiwa, I know they will never live without giving something small. So, but I have to warn you, it's not for you, so don't harass our guests on the way. It's only me who is privileged. So the bishops will pray for me, and then waheshimiwa, my M-Pesa number, oh sorry, that's a lie. All right. And also, we know that we have sat here, surely, we tried to get a few stones to turn them into bread, but the truck is late. So that's why we are late. The truck is late. We wanted to pray so that stones can be turned into bread. But now the truck is here, so we'll definitely have our lunch. Just quick comments as we wind up. It seems like all of us on this table, we have tried to get in touch with the speaker. It seems like he's caught up or something, just the day is hard for him in one way or another. So we have to excuse him. While we're taking lunch, should he confirm? He confirmed he's coming. So should he be on the way? It might be a bit respectful for us if we eat and then we come back. But that's if he's on the way. For now, we will wind up, and then, but if he comes, can we make that provision? Yeah. Yes, just as you eat, if we find that he's on the way, it will be unfortunate to ask the speaker to go back, and he's been wanting to come all day long. So to wind up, I want to thank the organizers of this day. Tomorrow we have half-day conference, which will be looking at food security, or issues around food security. We have very high-level professional speaking, plus education. We have done a research, especially on parenting, social media, and how that affects children. His Lordship spoke about that in the morning, but tomorrow is a big day in terms of releasing that data on what do parents and any parent around here. I only see youth. But if there were parents here, well, yeah, so it will be an interesting discussion. We have people from education, and I had this psychologist around, so he might dissect the research in his own way. But I just want to make sure, once again, I recognize the extreme participation, active participation of Pax Romana. So Pax Romana Samuel, can we clap for him, please? And Dr. John Nyambega, where are you? Yeah, please, let's clap for that good man. Father Mbaru himself from Kwea, he brought a number of students from Kwea to come and learn from the people who have the knowledge. Wav Aminata, please, if you can stand. The Women Against Violence. And at the Peace Institute, I think Dr. Elias Mondi is probably upstairs. Yeah, they have a conference. So I want to thank all of you, and obviously we look forward to a very, very productive day tomorrow. And so I'm going to ask the two bishops. I will ask one to speak, kind of summarize the day and move his own vote of thanks and what's tracking. And we will ask Bishop John Obala to, when he steps up to speak, to also bless the early lunch. We normally don't take early lunch, but today, since climate, we don't know when it will rain. So we might have an early lunch, but thanks for, asante kwa kuvumilia. Mmevumilia kwa Wakenya. Yeah, but thanks so much. I think it was your own choice, and Mheshimiwa has to go. I guess he has to go to the Senate. Thank you so much. Asante. Yeah, so asanteni sana. So we will just ask Bishop Rotich to step up and give us his one or two concluding remarks, and Bishop Obala will bless the meal and also conclude the day. Thank you very much. God bless you. See you tomorrow 8. Tomorrow is 8 a.m. and it's half day. Thank you very much.
In all this, we need to change the way we do politics in this country. The politics in this country need to have ethics. You need to have people who have the courage, the Spirit of the Lord, so that they can courageously stand when they are elected. And for now, I want to thank you on behalf of us all, that you go home and enforce, not to force, but to enforce what you have listened to, and be accountable, be transparent, so that when you are asked questions, you stand confidently, courageously, because you have the Spirit that comes from the Lord. It is tiresome when you have to have sessions and schooling, and we don't have the courage. Yet the Holy Spirit is with us. So I want to encourage you to stand up and be counted. And we have to start by changing the face of politics, by introducing ethics. People who can come without fighting violently, but stand and courageously. In 10 minutes, they have sent the message. I would like to invite you to a school, and this school is called Politics That Make a Difference. And we start preparing in these 3 years to change that face by inviting the serving politicians and those who would like to stand in the coming years to go through our schools of ethics. After tomorrow, we will come register them. Yes? And begin now, not there, to have people of integrity. And that people of integrity comes from you. So go home and enforce this. Thank you very much.
I did not know that brother was that mischievous, asking for something small from politicians in our presence. I agree with Madam Speaker Elechi that we do not need only Sunday Christians, but Monday and weekday Christians. We better stand and say the grace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord God, we thank you for this engaging grace on this occasion to reflect on our environmental concerns, climate change, and indeed water issues. Make us stewards who use reverently the precious resources that you have given us freely with charity. Grant each one of us the courage and the willingness to conserve our environment and to mitigate against climate change by turning word into action. Bless each and every one of us who has participated actively in our today's session. Bless the food that we are going to share.
May it strengthen us, Lord God, to serve you in one another in honesty and joy. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Good appetite and safe journey back.